Welcome to another episode of Science from Your Sofa. I'm Emily.
And I'm Kristen. In this episode, we're going to tackle the beginnings of the landlocked Atlantic salmon's life cycle.
Are there salmon in Lake George? Yes, there are salmon in Lake George. First introduced in the 1800s, landlocked Atlantic salmon have been persistently restocked in order to maintain the population. Landlocked Atlantic salmon are a subspecies of the Atlantic salmon, but they spend their lives in lakes without ever descending into the ocean. Are salmon a warm water fish or a cold water fish? Salmon are considered a cold water fish. They really like water temperatures that are below 68 degrees Fahrenheit. In the spring, it is possible to see some salmon in the shallower waters on Lake George, but once those water temperatures get above 70 degrees Fahrenheit, the salmon tend to travel to the depths of the lake in order to stay with the cool water.
How does the salmon life cycle start? During the fall, the salmon enter a stream to spawn. The female will turn on her side and fan out a nest where she's going to then deposit her eggs. After spawning, that female salmon will return back to the lake. The eggs go through a lot of changes while they're down there in that stream bed. The most obvious stage is what we call the eyed stage. That's where you can see kind of a black dot inside the egg, and that's showing our salmon's eye.
What is the next stage of the salmon life cycle? Once the salmon hatch from the eggs, they're considered to be in the alevin stage. They have that fish-like appearance now, but they still have the yolk sac attached to them. This is where they gather their nutrients from. The yolk sac, containing a mixture of water, fats, protein, and salts, contains enough nourishment for the alevin to live in the gravel for 2 to 3 months. The sac shrinks as the alevin develops teeth, eyes, and a digestive system. Alevin cannot swim, and their yolk sac makes movement slow, so they are an easy target for predators. To hide from predators, they avoid light and live as much as 30 centimeters down in the gravel. As the yolk sac is absorbed, the alevins become more active and move up through the gravel. When the yolk sac is completely absorbed, the alevin grow to about 2.5 centimeters. The alevin emerge in the spring when the water begins to warm and when algae and plankton start to grow in the stream. Then they must emerge from the gravel and begin to search for food. Once they get to this stage, they are known as fry.
What are the environmental needs of these eggs and alevin at this stage? Well, they of course need a stream, and that stream needs to be cold from either melting snow or groundwater inputs. That stream also has to have nice shaded buffers, nice trees and plants along the edges of that stream so the sunlight doesn't directly hit it. That water also needs to have lots of oxygen, and that can get in the water from waterfalls, going over rocks, and then just mixing with the air. Of course, they need that water to be clean and fresh and unpolluted. And lastly, they need gravel to have a spot to hide for protection. So is stream health important to salmon? Of course it is. Since these salmon begin their lives in the streams, we need to make sure that our streams stay clean and unpolluted so that they don't affect the health and growth of these fish. Suitable stream habitat is also very important to salmon spawning. Lake George streams only offer marginal salmon spawning habitat, and this is due to the steep terrain of the Lake George watershed. These steep terrains limit the availability of a pebble bottom or that gravel bottom on our streams. And sometimes we have very low flow conditions, so not much water in our streams, and the fish can't get up those streams if there's not much water.
What threats are there to alevins in our streams? Threats include predators in the water, siltation, pollution, flooding, and other events that can disturb the gravel on the stream bottoms. Since the alevins keep that bright orange color from the salmon eggs, and they have that heavy yolk sac that slows their movement, they are an easy target for predators. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of Science from Your Sofa.
We will be covering the next stages of this salmon life cycle in future episodes.